Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello there, welcome to another fresh edition of your business program on Leadership Television, Money Radio. My name is Winifred Ugabo, your host on the program. And on today's program, we have our guest, Jafaru. He's an economist and IT specialist, all run together. Jafaru, you're welcome to today's program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, on today's program, we are going to be looking at bank system upgrade and customers' frustration. Recently, Nigerians have been witnessing a lot of back and forth in terms of financial transactions from their banks, which are quite frustrated. This is not helped by the fact that some of the banks have come out to say that they are upgrading their software and so may take a while. But many experts are saying that it may take up to 1 year to upgrade and in the process hamper business transactions. These are what we are going to be looking at on today's episode of the program. We are looking at the issues and if banks are not investing and why banks are not investing in IT infrastructure in view of the touted seamless financial transactions. What is happening?
A lot is happening actually. Well, it's.
Have you been experiencing some hiccups?
Well, for me,
first, let's start with that.
for me, I actually got a prep before this whole issue started, so I had to move my funds to a bank I think would not have that issue. So I've not experienced that issue, and since the issue started,
as a matter of one of the generation banks even closed for a week. You could not do. We are not calling it. We could not do any transactions, and they came out to say that no privy to the information that another bank, again sister bank, has his website. Is a website that hacked, so they are taking also effort to prevent that. But what is happening?
It's really well now. This is contrary to the fact that banks are not investing in IT. They are, but they're not investing enough. So let's state that and let that be clear. I think banks are investing in IT, and when we're looking at IT generally, I think if we're looking at it from even an African perspective, you will find that Nigerian banks tend to be among those that are in the leading chain of engaging and incorporating IT into the system. But let's even start by having an understanding of the operations of bank.
Yes.
So now, as long as technology is concerned, looking at it from the banking sector, there are three major categories to technology. One is the information technology, which everyone knows. There is what's known as operational technology, and there is also what is known as consumer technology. So with all that is happening, the challenge is not with the information technology. Information technology, those are the technologies that enable communications and interaction, like your internet and your networks and all that. So the issue now is not with the network of the bank. But usually when you go to bank, they will just generalize because not everybody in bank understands some of these terminologies. They'll just tell you that network is down. But in most cases,
yes,
it's usually not.
That's what we are told.
So
okay,
but,
in other words, that is a layman.
That's the easiest way they can explain or describe what's happening. Network is down, but information technology has to do with the corporate, the bank's network, the internet, and ensuring that. But that's not because if we're having information technological challenge, we will also not be able to have access to internet. So it's going to transcend the banking sector. Then the consumer technology are those technologies or things we have from the consumer's end, the ones that consumers interact with, like your mobile bank application, your internet banking infrastructure, your USSD. So the challenge is actually not with that, to a large extent, not with that. The major challenge is with the operational technology, which is the core banking infrastructure. That is that is the interface between the consumer technology and the bank, because that's where all your transactions are. That's where they are approved from. That's where they are moved from, and the actual transaction of the banking system occurs within the operational technology, the core banking infrastructure, and that is what they are trying to migrate from. So they are
they are trying to migrate.
Yeah, they are trying to
to
migrate. They are trying to migrate from the one they are currently using to
software.
a better, a core banking infrastructure that they currently that their infrastructure relies on, to a more flexible. Some say it to a more flexible and better, efficient solution that will enable them to be flexible in giving customers what they want. So that's actually the major challenge. Now the challenge, the second issue now is the fact that this is one of the most this is a major migration.
Yes, and that is why consumers are afraid that, experts say that it may take a while for them to stabilize.
Yes, I also believe in
like
that.
What you just said now, that is a major.
Yeah, it's a major migration, and because it's a major migration, it has not been done by most banks before.
Okay.
So
is it a new?
The solution they are going into is a new software.
Okay.
But the last time they did migration, most banks anyway, the last time most banks did a major migration like this was during the recapitalization exercise. So that was when a major migration of such was done. They may have been doing some migrations here and there, just a little bit, not a major one like this, because this one is changing the platform they're using completely. That's one. Secondly, the time that they would have done a migration before, their customer base wouldn't have been this much. The financial inclusion drive that has happened in the past 10 to 15 years, thereby ensuring that you bring the mama akara, as one of my mentors would say, that is in that is in the village, to have an account, ensuring that financial inclusion. So the numbers of persons that have accounts now and carry out financial transactions, it has increased. So the database is on the rise. The data they have to migrate is also high. So because of that, there's going to be issues, because this kind of migration is not something that they have done before. So then what are they supposed to? This is something that I believe is something that has not been done in this magnitude before. So there should have been strategy in place. There should have been communications in place, because from what we're seeing, most banks did not even put in customer first. There was no customer-centric migration.
There was not even a notice to that effect.
Because there was no customers. It was not a customer-centric migration. That means the migration was not customer-centered. It was compliance centered, because some persons are saying that it was a recommendation from central bank. Some persons that has not been confirmed, but some persons are saying it was a recommendation by central bank. And because it was a recommendation by central bank, they are mandated to ensure that happens within a time frame. So because of that, there was no time to sit down, design strategy.
But it set panic among consumers, because many people were of the opinion that, maybe the bank is going down. And we also saw some cases whereby some consumers went to the so-called banks to remove their money, like you just also pointed out.
Yeah, true. Well, true. When that's the absence of communication. When you lack communication, you give room for people to begin to assume things. So if there was proper communication, probably that this was a major migration. This is a major migration. You would have given like a week notice. Okay, we're going to be doing a major migration. The regular migration that we usually get is we're going to do a migration around 11 p.m. by 1 we are done. Usually at night, where that's considered to be an off-peak period. But this is a major migration that is going to transit days. So it's not just 1 day, it's not just 2 days. There are banks that's going to take 7 days. There are banks going to take 2 weeks. And this is the migration proper, but that's not where the problem even starts, because you can migrate like some banks have done, but customers will still it is after the migration that customers begin to have their own issues. That's when complaints begin to come forth. So we need to now begin to ask ourselves, what strategy was in place for these banks before they were able to before they were able to engage that migration? Because from the issues that we are having and from what we are seeing publicly, it invariably means that there was no adequate strategy in place. Because I will always say this: when putting up things, technology is not something that you just plug in and plug out. Even though they call it plug and play, there is still a room. There is still room where you put in. There is still the risk of eventualities where you ensure that everything is done, but yet nothing is working. And it may be as simple as you've not changed the date in the system that is making it not to work. And these are things that you can just I've done everything, but this thing is still not yet working. But yeah, that's technology for you.
This is a major upgrade that you're talking about. For how long? What is the duration? Like as an expert in the field.
Okay, so it's not something you can put a time to or put duration to. But however, if a proper strategy was in place, you would have the internal banking IT team would have said, okay, this will take us 2 weeks, but there is pre-migration, there is post-migration. There are challenges you encounter pre-migration, there are challenges you encounter post-migration. The actual work happens during the migration phase. Then they would have come out to say, okay, this is a pre-migration issue. This is a pre-migration time frame. Yeah, the pre-migration time frame, that's where the communication would have come out. That's where they would have informed bankers or customers that we're going for a major migration. This is going to take us time. We're looking at a 1 week, 2 weeks, a 7 days, 7 business days, 10 business days period to carry out this migration. Ensure that you withdraw as much funds as you can withdraw that will cover up for this period of time while we are down, or you move a certain funds to another account. Even we know that most banks will not want to say that because it means dropping their own. But yeah, these are the pre-migration communications that customers needed to be aware of. Then the actual migration is when they do the work. Then there is the post-migration communication where they now begin to tell customers that we are done with migrations, but we still know we even though we are hopeful that everything works well. If anyone still have issues, please, you are free to walk into any of our branches, lay complaint, put in strategic teams. Your IT team should be in every branch to ensure that they are able to attend to customers, because we've had cases where people's money went blank. Like after the migration, the money in their account was completely zero naira. Nothing was in the account, and they were like, "No, I had money in this account before. So what happened to my funds?" So these are the post-migration issues that arose during the migration.
With what is playing out now with the system upgrade, I want to ask you: will it be hack proof? Because we are seeing situations whereby many people are, especially people that are IT savvy, are able to hack into unsuspecting Nigerians' accounts. With this software upgrade banks are carrying out, will you be able to curb against it?
Well, security is a core not just a core requirement, but it's a necessity when migrating to any new solution. So you want to check out the security implication of that particular software. So I believe most bank would have done that and would have done that check and ensure that the application, the software they are migrating to now has all it takes, as long as, or has done all that needs to be done in the area of ensuring that customers data is secured, and also the application is completely secured. Not foolproof, because they will always tell you that everything is foolproof, but yeah, to a large extent, it's secured, and from the perspective of security professionals, that application can withstand attacks to a large extent.
Right. Now we are going on a break. When we come back, we are going to continue our program, Money Radio. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Money Radio, your business program on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Gbebo, and of course, I have an IT specialist in the studio with me. I'll be talking with him during the first half of the program, and we are continuing our discussions, Jafaru, on the topic bank system upgrade and customers frustration. Now, as an IT specialist, how would you compare Nigerian banks' IT, going the way it works and that of other countries?
Well, like I made
Are they
mention.
operating standard level?
You
There's something
know,
like
there
a
is.
standard.
Yes, when you're looking at standard, no, when you're looking at comparison, you have to look at the region you're comparing it to.
Yeah, okay. What
So
about like
if you're comparing it to African
Africa?
countries,
You
yeah,
say
we are
that
doing
you're doing well.
we're doing well. Yeah, but you can't compare it with other countries.
Because even with before this upgrade, you find out that when you're even making transfer, it doesn't even go. Even when it goes, at the end of the day, the money it gives you
Okay,
the debit alert. Meanwhile, the money did not go. We
okay.
are
So
seeing
now
cases
there are
like that,
challenges to this
and this
thing.
has to do with the IT
Yeah,
and
there are challenges to
all
this thing. There is what is known as capability, and there's what is known as
that.
capacity.
Yes.
Capability is the ability for you to be able to do something. The capacity is at
Yes.
what size can you do
Mm.
at every given point in time. So you may have the capability to be able to carry out transfer, but when you are doing 1 million transfer at a go, do you have that capacity to do 1 million transfer at a go?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. So the Nigerian banks have the capability to carry out some of these functions, but the challenge now comes where 1 million persons or bulk number of persons are trying to carry out that same function at the same time. There will be a what's it called? The network would be tight. Yeah, tight and jammed, and everyone will be struggling. Everyone's transaction will be struggling to see how that's usually the challenge. So it's not as though that we don't have the capabilities. We have the capabilities, but the challenge is that we are not investing in tech enough to be able to increase the capacity for us to be able to carry out for us to be able to spread the capabilities that we have to be able to ensure that the capacity we have can take bulk numbers of transactions at the same time.
Now, looking at a system upgrade, I want to find out from you: is it that capital intensive?
Yes, it is. Like I said, this is a major system upgrade. I'm not speaking on behalf of banks,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
like,
as
as
a
I'm just
professional, I
right.
understand some of these things. So it's a major upgrade. So tech solutions are quite expensive, and this being a major upgrade would mean that they would have to buy the software, get the license, and some license can be based on the numbers of staff that will be using the application. So it can be that high, but I don't think funds would be the issue that would be the issue that is causing this rift, as long as one being unable to access it. But I think it's absence of strategy, absence of well, let me not use the word leadership, but there was something that was absent that needed to have been done before now. And if that had been done, I think there were banks that actually went through this migration period and had done their migration, and we didn't get issues with the bank. So,
No, in terms of IT, we all know that technology evolves over time. If accessing our banks, Nigerian banks, will you say that the technology innovations they are using currently deploying is it in modern? Are they modern?
yes, they are. They are to a large extent. They are compared to, like I say, when you compare, you have to know who you're comparing it with. So some banks in the Western world are beginning to integrate AI, and I know that some of our banks have also begun to integrate AI into their. So that's the most novel and newest. That's the newest technology that's in vogue now. So yeah, Nigerian banks are starting. That's why there are times you can even go chat with a bot, and the web pattern to be that's the lowest form of AI capability. But yes, it's doing it, and banks are already having that. Like, there's no need to call names, but yeah. So, but generally, yeah, we are. But now, looking at it from a global perspective, Nigerian banks are doing well. They are really, really doing well. Sincerely, they are doing well compared to some other banks.
Yes.
But if I want,
Some other banks in Africa,
in
but
Africa,
of course,
yeah,
Nigeria is the giant of Africa,
yeah,
the most black populous
yeah,
country.
there are other very popular nations that are not as good, and the thing is that the advantage we have
But you
is
were going
because of the
to,
time.
sorry, I intervened, but you were going to draw a parallel. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, you
now
said compared to banks.
compared to banks in the Western world that have tried as much as possible to mitigate the numbers of persons that go to the banking hall. That may be a challenge from CBN. Probably CBN is limiting them. That's one. Secondly, you notice fully well that the Nigerian financial industry were among those that first instituted the whole CBDC, that central bank digital currency, the blockchain technology into their operation. Even though we know that since the commencement of this administration, we've had a whole lot of silence as regards that technology. But that's to tell you that we are evolving. Most banks also, if you notice, most Nigerian banks are changing their names. So they are moving from just having to focus on being a commercial bank to going into other aspects of financial technology and banking and other aspects in the financial industry. That's because if you realize, you find out that there is a particular bank who, not a bank, a digital, let me use a digital bank, but licensed as a microfinance bank. But the transactions they do cannot be compared to the transactions that are being done by commercial banks. Yeah, so and the reason is because of the fact that those new generation banks, they've embedded technology into their systems from beginning to end. So you don't have to go to the bank. Everything can be resolved from your mobile application. You have issues, you have the credit alert issues, debit alert issues, and all that. It can be resolved from your mobile app without you having to go to bank. And most banks are beginning to toe this line to say, oh, you know what, it's possible for us to have that. So you realize that some commercial banks are dropping the numbers of branches that they have, putting in funds into the technology that they have, bringing in applications and mobile applications to ensure that people just use the applications, and everything that you need to do you can do it from the applications, and you don't have to stress yourself, and everything can be resolved.
Up in the banking hall. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting. Now I want to find out again before we go. What is the best way forward? What are the best practices that Nigerian banks can actually imbibe in their IT infrastructure?
So I believe they know this. You know, there's a huge concern with the reluctance, or how reluctant bank owners and bank senior management are in releasing funds for IT-based products.
There's also something they are going to recoup.
So it's not an income generation thing. So they usually find it difficult to release funds for it. So, and that's me standing in the side of the CISOs now. They are the Chief Information Security Officers of banks, which are those that manage they are largely in charge of the security of banking applications and banking infrastructures. So when they take projects to the bank, to the bank executives, they have to defend before funds are released. And security, even in the Nigerian system as a whole, defense takes the highest budget.
Yes,
it gets the less scrutiny. And the reason is because you don't sugarcoat defense, you don't sugarcoat security. This is the way it is. So, but when you now take it to the business angle, security gets the least budget, and gets the highest scrutiny. And and by doing all that, you are dropping not just the morale of those now. And the major challenge is when the cost it takes you to recover from an attack. Let's say, for example, you fall victim to an attack, or a bank falls victim to an attack. The cost it takes them to recover from their account is practically 10 times the cost it will take them to prevent the attack. So they usually prefer you know, we won't fall victim until they fall victim. Then they now release the funds urgently because they don't want people to know that they are falling victim. Because banks do fall victim to attack, but they don't announce it. So it's usually something that they sweep under the carpet.
Something that can spiral with a negative adverse effect. Thank you so much. Now, before we go, what can be done actually to guide against these untracked funds? Because we are having situation customers transfer money, at the end of the day the money does not get to destination and the customer is debited for it. I think that happened to me just last week.
That's a bank issue. It depends on the bank you're using. So banks would have that issue because of probably the way they design their systems. But I think it's a bank issue and it's something that can easily be resolved. But now the challenge now is that you now have to go to the bank, go to the banking or provide evidence and all that, which all this technology would have been, in fact, automated. There's what's called RPA, robotic process automation. It can automate anything, any process in a banking system can be automated by RPA. So it's an AI-induced process automation. So you don't need to go to the bank to get certain things done. Instead of the bank making available, integrating RPA into their process so that customers don't need to come to bank, they would want the customer to come to bank. Maybe they want to do this and CBN is restricting them because that's also another angle to this. Okay. Maybe CBN is restricting them, but I think if CBN is restricting them, they want to look at
maybe it's the best practice, global practice.
It may not be the best practice, but it can be a global practice. So it's a global practice. RPA, robotic process automation, with an AI-induced process integration into business processes of different industry. It's a norm. It's something that was one of the things that AI is bringing to the table, and I think banking system needs to integrate that into their processes so that it will limit the number of persons going to bank. It will help to resolve disputes before in no distant time. So these I think are things that, and like I said, it's a banking issue. You have to go to the bank to get it solved. So it's because of probably the way their system was designed. And I believe some of these things, this migration would solve a whole lot of some of these issues.
All right, thank you so much. Well, what has a beginning always have an end, and it's on this note to bring today's Money Radio to an end. I've had the pleasure of having in company today an IT specialist, as you've seen. Jafaro. My name is
Haniel Jafaro.
Okay, sorry, Haniel Jafaro. I keep making the mistake of calling him Jafaro. Haniel Jafaro. And I look forward to having you on the same platform next time on the program. Well, viewers, until I come your way again for another fresh edition of the program. My name is Winifred Debo. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.